He has to be a leader of men. It's so many different attributes and what we look for when we see a quarterback. And you would love a coach's son. Somewhere that the coaches coached him, and I'm not going down my road. I see you smiling because
I know who your quarterback is right now.
He's talking about my son. I didn't just build a template for my son, but that's what really we look for in quarterbacks. Different positions are different. Like O-lineman, I look for dual parent homes,
right.
A strong father that they adhered to,
right.
Smart kid, at least 3.3 and above.
You're also describing Hurts.
Yeah, tough.
Well. I mean,
physical. I mean, offensive lineman. Defensive lineman is totally opposite.
What do you mean?
Single mama. Trying to get it. He's on free lunch. I mean, I'm talking about just trying to make it. He trying to rescue mama. Like mama barely made the flight.
Trying to get out the mud.
And I want him to just go get it. It's a whole different attributes that you look for in different positions, and we have that stuff just chronicled. We know what we want, and we go get it.
Deion Sanders here on the Rich Eisen Show.
Into these controversial remarks made by the great Coach Primetime Deion Sanders. He was on the Rich Eisen Show. It was recorded before the actual Super Bowl, so it was a couple weeks ago. Obviously, I think it was the week of the Super Bowl, or whatever. But I guess the video resurfaced or whatever, in which he made the controversial remarks about how when he's recruiting quarterbacks, he's looking for a two-parent household with a 3.5 GPA. Looking for old-linemen, and then in sort of a kind of a tongue-in-cheek way, basically a tongue-in-cheek way. I went back and listened to the entire thing, so he was saying it in a jokingly way. He was jokingly saying it. He was saying it as a joke, but you could tell he was serious and shit like that. You know how it is when you're talking to one of your friends. He says, and this is where it really got really controversial, he says, D-line, that's totally different. Oh, we want single moms, we want free lunch, just trying to get it, you know? He got into that mode, all right? And that, to me, I'll just come out and say, as much as I love Coach Primetime, I think he's completely wrong for making that generalization. I really think he needs to be he of all people should know that it's pretty damn stupid to be making generalizations about a player based on some shit he can't control, based on how his parents were raised or what happened with his parents. Now, as a person who understands him, as a person who does this, I make this mistake all the time, so I understand 1,000% what he was trying to say. He was talking in terms of mentality, and he was talking in terms of he wants a D-lineman with the mentality, an angry mentality, so it came off, but I believe it was wrong for him to make that generalization. And again, I do it all the time, and I totally understand why he was doing it. I mean, even for myself, I'll use myself as an example. Every time I'm asked about the type of woman that I want in my life, I say hot, Cuban, a grinder, a hustler, and prefers black men, right? I say that all the time. And it's in a way, yes, I'm telling the truth, but if, let's say the woman isn't Cuban, she'll say she's Dominican or whatever, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna shoot my shot or not gonna be interested or whatever. But when it comes to these leadership roles, when it comes to you making decisions on your life, I learned this a long time ago, all right? The root word for decision is incision. So you got to start cutting off certain people, and you got to get direct, and you got to figure out specifically what you want. You have to make a clear distinction on what you want. And when you're doing that, yes, you're going to make some generalizations, and there going to be some things that are said that are fairly controversial, all right? So all that being said, here's the takeaway. Here's what you need to extract as a person who keeps up with my work, and especially as anyone that's in the football world. It's time for us, all right, to start teaching our young players that we can be more than college football coaches, that we could be more than coaches, all right? I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Understand that the reason, what really struck out to me when it comes to those comments were what he said about the D-line, because I think it was completely false and completely wrong. You know, being a player, I played at a good Council High School, and I was lucky. I was blessed enough to play with 5 defensive linemen. All 5 of them came up in really, really good homes, and all 5 of them went Division I. In fact, when I got into the scouting world, I worked for a company named FBU. There was a kid. His name was Josh Williams. Josh Williams defensive lineman, went to Gonzaga. He's doing some great things at Holy Cross, which is the Patriot League. Awesome things. And that's where I think we as mentors and we as adults in this business, people who grew up in this business, we gotta teach our young athletes that they're more than just football players and they're more than just football coaches. Because listen, I'll close you out with this story. When it was my first day, when I got to Stony Brook University. It was my first day, and there was one black coach on staff who happened at the time, he was the Maryland recruiter. He used to recruit Stony Brook, by the way, Stony Brook is in New York if you didn't know, but he used to recruit the Maryland schools. And I remember this was back when, you know, when you talk in Maryland, it was the Good Council. We were basically 1 and 2 every year, right? So, you know, I remember my first day when I got there as a walk-on, I remember asking him who, you know, I was just talking about, you know, who he's looking for from each school or whatever. And I remember him blatantly telling me, like saying with as much, I'll never forget this day because it was my first day on the campus. It was like, my first day actually on the campus for the summer. It was the first day on the campus for the summer. And I remember talking to him, and he goes, you know, I just brought it up or whatever. And he goes, you know, it won't be close this year. He was basically saying DeMatha is going to kick our ass this year. It won't be close this year. And this was the reason he gave. I'm going to tell you the reason he gave. He goes, it won't be close this year because I remember I was out at DeMatha for my spring recruiting, and all I saw was black kids. I mean, he said just like that. He goes, all I saw was black kids. There's a bunch of black kids. It's not even going to be close. And just so you know, that was actually the year. It was 2010. That was actually the year in which Good Counsel beat DeMatha in the CAC championship for the first ever time. Straight up. So if that story tells you anything, it's about teaching especially at that high school level. I remember I heard Nick Saban say this one time. He said the most influential person the most influential person in his life was his high school football coach. He said that in a room full of like thousands of high school coaches. So at that age, you know, whether it's a parent, whether it's the high school coach that's listening to me right now, or it's the parent, make sure you teach them that they're bigger, that they can do bigger things. That when these college recruiters come in, don't start just becoming yes man and getting all nervous and making it so everything they say is right, because obviously they obviously do not have all of the answers. And it's very important that we teach our young high school kids that college coaches do not have all the answers. They're hustlers just like everyone else. And listen, the only reason that Primetime got away with saying those remarks is because he used to work. All right, he used to work in the NFL Network. He used to work with Rich Eisen, and, you know, he was just, again, talking to a friend. It was like him talking to a friend. And the same way you would be when you're talking to your friends, that's what he was doing. All right, and he just gave you, it just happened to go public, and this is the way they talk. This is the way it is. So you got to really ask yourself, what am I teaching my young high school kid? All right, I know I got a little long-winded on this. I'll probably do a full episode on this very topic because there's so much more I have to give you on this. So much more I have to give you. Trust me, believe me. This is something I live. I live it every single day as I go out and I teach at this learning center every single day. I see it, I live it, I breathe this kind of shit every day. All right. To dive deeper into what I do, it's makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. It's a one-stop shop for all your teamwork and self-development needs. Aswand Cruickshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.